Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today we're going to play with the Home for the Holidays collection from our friends at Stamperia. And we can start by taking a look at the Romantic Home for the Holidays 8x8 paper pack. Now this has 10 sheets of double-sided pattern papers, all with a really sweet watercolor look. So some very traditional winter themed designs, but also with some florals, some sweet little birds. You've got text, you've got some sheet music in here. Really gorgeous designs. Now, in addition to the all over backgrounds, you've also got lots of cutout elements here too, from circles to rectangles. And of course, these work beautifully for the inside or the outside of your card. So this is just a quick flip through of that 8x8 paper pack. A lot to play with in here. Now, in addition, we've also got a set of 48 chipboard die cuts. So let me show some of these to you. As you can see, lots of variety in size and shape. They work beautifully for card focal elements and also as smaller accents. So that's one grouping from the collection, and here are the rest. So you get a lot in here. Lots of nice sizes, and again, easy to use for the front or the inside of your cards. Now there are also 2 sheets of rice paper as well in this collection. You've got the Home for the Holidays rounds, which you can see here, and then you've got a coordinating sheet of music rice paper. Now, finally, there's a set of rub-on transfers. And as you can see, these are beautifully designed and go perfectly with the rest of the elements in today's collection. Very easy to add to your cards as well. So I have a couple of projects to share with you today and some demos too. As you can see, we have a lot to explore, and I'm really glad you're here. Come play with us. Let's start by putting together a simple card. Now I've trimmed down this lovely piece from the 8x8 paper pack, and I used Hunky Dory's butterscotch ink pad just to add some soft texture around the outside edges. Now from here I can simply place this right onto the front of my blank white card, and I've got an instant background. I can add in chipboard die cuts, I can add in Dazzle sentiments, I can really do as much or as little as I want to from here. But it's great to have this instant background ready to go. Now I will say that the hardest part about working with this collection is that you'll have to decide which side of the pattern paper you want to use, because as you can see, this is another really great design and can also be used as an instant background. So I'm going to show you some options with both sides of this paper, and then you can decide for yourself. Now the other thing you can decide is whether you want to take advantage of that white border going around the outside edge from your blank white card, or if you want to work in some cardstock and maybe cover the front of your card with a contrasting or coordinating cardstock color before you put that pattern paper down. So I pulled out hot off the presses Seasonal Splendor cardstock pack from my stash, and these shades, as you can see here, just work beautifully with the Stamperia paper. So let's just do a little bit of experimenting here. I'll move this out of the way, and we can start with this gorgeous, rich, kind of a chocolate brown color. And so if I were to cover the front of my card with this, and then place this down here, I'll have this nice thin border going around the outside edge. You'll have to imagine it on the other side and the top. But I love how this really accents and contrasts with the white snow and that light blue on here. So that would be an option. Then I've also got this beautiful dark green, and I really like how that's picking up some of the colors in the foliage here around the bottom and the edges of this gorgeous design. So I've got that dark green. I also have a lighter brown too, which is going to add a lighter touch of contrast against that white, but also coordinating more with the house color in here. And then you can see I really was having a lot of fun with this. Then I've got this kind of a khaki or a moss green, and this also creates a really soft and beautiful effect here too. Nice contrast, but blending beautifully with some of these watercolor greens. So in the end, I decided to cover the front of my card with this mauve paper, and this is also from the cardstock pack. And so you can see I've got an instant frame around here. This is picking up, again, some of the warm tones from the deer and also from the house and also from this flower here in the corner. And it does contrast really nicely with the whites and the blues. So from here, I can decide what I want to do with the rest of my card. And I can add in some of the chipboard elements. I can do some dazzle sentiments. So we'll look at what I'm going to do with this, what I decided eventually. But I'm going to flip this over. And let's take a look at this side too. So from here, I've got a lot of options because I've got a completely random background, so I don't have any scenery on here, which means that I can also go this way, or I can position my card this way. So if I wanted to, I could take one of these large chipboard elements and start with this here. Maybe I want to work in another chipboard piece, the Happy Holidays. I could also add in a little bow if I wanted to. So lots of options here, quick and easy. And of course, this large chipboard piece will really fill all of the space on here. Now, if I want to turn it this way, I've got another option that I found really fun. Again, another large chipboard piece with this beautiful door. And then there are also some of these winter plants. And then maybe you want to do the Happy Holidays up here. And again, you can, of course, work in a ribbon or bow in here too if you wanted to. So that's another option for this side. Now flipping it back over, I just couldn't resist this beautiful winter scene. I just thought that was so pretty. So because I've got more elements going on here, then I can have another considered idea with my chipboard die cut pieces. So in this case, I decided to take this beautiful doe and position her here, and I can kind of angle her a little bit so that it looks like the two of them are out for a bit of a walk in the woods, and maybe whoever is inside that cozy house is taking a look. Now again, I can add in some of the chipboard sentiments on here. I can also decide to work with a dazzle sentiment. Now you guys know I love these script dazzles, and I've got just one left on this sheet of my Christmas script dazzles. This is the Holly Jolly. And pulling it off carefully, and from here I can add in this sentiment too. So I can just position this down here, and I've got a beautiful piece ready to go. So when I'm ready to assemble everything, then I will do that, and I'll put it into the project gallery, and you can see what that will look like all finished. But I'll show you the inside for now. We can take a look at this. So here I've got another half piece of that pattern paper. I did work in a little strip of that overall polka dot design. That's going to be my border. Got some cardstock here. And then I have another deer chipboard and the sentiment here as well to finish things off. So again, I'll assemble the card and then I'll put this into the project gallery, and we can have a closer look of that when everything is all glued down. Okay, so now that we've seen how easy these are to use, let's take a look at some more card projects. This card is also using some of that 8x8 pattern paper that you see here in the center, and I've trimmed this down again slightly smaller than the card front, which is covered with Seasonal Splendor cardstock, that beautiful moss green. Now this piece is also inked with the butterscotch ink pad just to give it a little bit of shading around those outside edges. The focal that you see here is one from the Home for the Holidays Rounds rice paper sheet. So you can see the missing one here, but I've got lots of other beautiful designs to show you as we're demonstrating. So let's take a look at how to use these. First of all, a couple of tools that you want to have on hand. I'm working on my craft mat, and that's just going to protect my work surface and also make things a little bit cleaner and tidier to work with. I have a water brush, which I'm just going to be using kind of like a paintbrush. I have a jar of water off to one side, and I've also got my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. So I'm working with a nice white acrylic glue, and this is going to be what I will use to adhere the rice paper onto my paper. Now you can use whatever kind of paper you like. For the card project, I was using pattern paper, but for this demonstration, I'll just use a piece of plain white cardstock. So the choice is yours. So first of all, I'm going to dip my brush into a little bit of water, and I'm going to just outline my image on here, my chosen image. And in this case, it's going to be this sweet little rabbit. So I'm just kind of painting the water around the outside edge. And as I do this, it will weaken the fibers of that rice paper and make it really easy for me to tear around the outside edges. So I'm just going to be working my way around here, gently, of course. And you may find that you end up with some of these little fibers here. If you do, just grab a pair of scissors and you can kind of snip those off. So come along here, and I'm just gently pulling to separate those fibers of rice paper. Rice paper is a little bit like mulberry paper in the texture, but it also has this wonderful translucent or transparent effect that makes it beautiful for layering. Okay, so here's my little bunny, and I've got some stray bits on here, so again, I could just snip these off with scissors if I wanted to. Then I can go ahead and add him or her onto my paper. Now to do this, I'm going to want to work with a white glue like this one here, and I've just put some onto an acrylic block. Normally I would use my craft mat as my palette, but I figured this time it's just a little easier to clean it up this way. And I'm going to use a small flat brush for this. Now this is also wet, so I'm going to add in a little bit of water into my mix of glue. And I can either put this onto my paper or I can put it onto my rice paper image. So that's what I'm going to do here, and just kind of paint this on the back. And you can see all of those fibers on there. They really start to stand out when you add that glue going around the outside edges. And then what I'll do is just pick this up gently. I'm going to mop up my craft mat quickly. It's the beauty of the craft mat. And then simply position this down. And when I do this, I'm going to smooth out from the center to the edges. Just place that down. Now while I've got my gluey brush, I'm just going to come along and make sure that those edges are down and secure so that they don't come up. I don't need to cover the whole front of the image unless I want to, but it's not like decoupage where you have to coat the top and the bottom. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to make sure that I put my brush back into my water jar so that those bristles don't glue together. But then there we go. Now all I need to do is just let this dry, and I can add this onto the front of my card or whatever my paper crafting project is. Okay, so let's take another look at the card. You can see this sweet little birdie on here. Now, because we've got the advantage of sort of a translucency with that rice paper, you can see the text showing through the background here. So the text that you see up here, you can also read through here, which I really love. Now, I've also added some flowers from the chipboard pack and a little bit of jute twine. So the Christmas greetings sentiment is from the rub-on sheet, and we'll take a look at how to transfer the rub-ons in just a bit. But I do want to point out that the rub-on is slightly overlapping the rice paper, so you can do some fun layering with the rub-ons and the rice paper together. Now for the card inside, I have more pattern paper. Of course, I had to use that little birdie sheet. I just think that is so adorable. I've also got a border rub-on going along here and a Christmas script dazzle. Now I really like this layout here, and I think it could actually make a nice card front as well. So hopefully I'm giving you two ideas for the price of one with this. Okay, now for another quick look at a card. This card is also using a rub-on, this adorable squirrel. Now this is the card focal, and I think it is just such a sweet little vintage image, and of course this is up on one of the cutouts from the 8x8 paper pack. So let's take a look. I'm going to grab a few of my rub-on supplies and we'll take a look at how easy that is to apply a rub-on transfer. Transferring rub-ons is a really easy technique, and you just need to have something on hand with which to do the burnishing and the transferring of the image. Now in this case, I'm using a bone folder, and this is a really easy and efficient little tool to have on hand for lots of things, and it works beautifully for rub-ons as well. Of course, you need to have your paper, whatever you want to apply the rub-on to, and I'm using one of the cutouts from the 8x8 pack, as I did here. So what's also nice is, of course, these can go vertically and horizontally too. Now with my rub-ons, I had to decide which of the images I wanted to use, and that was another tough choice because they're all so sweet and they just work beautifully in combination with our pattern papers. So as you can see here, lots of borders, lots of small images. For my card, I chose this one right here, but I thought for the demonstration that I'd use this little birdie here sitting in the wreath. So what I've done is simply use scissors to cut out the bird and the liner sheet, so this backing sheet on here. I cut out both of those together. Now, if you are new to rub-ons, again, process is really easy and I'll show you here, but on the back of the packaging, Stamperia does include some instructions and some step-by-step diagrams. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just pull off this liner sheet, and I'm taking care not to handle the back here with my fingers so that that rub-on doesn't rub onto my hands. Okay, and I'm just going to position this. So before you place it down, you can sort of figure out where you want this image to go. So I'll pop him down here. And then gently smooth with my finger, just to make sure that he is adhered onto the background paper. So as you can see here, the image is on. But what I want to do is transfer this so that I can pull off this plastic piece on here, leaving the image behind. So that's where the bone folder comes in handy. So for this, I'm just going to burnish this gently but firmly. You don't need to put a whole lot of muscle into it, but you do want to make sure that you're going around those edges, making sure that you've applied pressure to the entire piece. And you can start to see the color change a little bit as the image gets transferred onto your surface. Okay, and when I'm doing this, I'm using this flat portion of the bone folder. I'm not really going in with the tip of this. That would be a little bit too much. Okay, and then I'm just going to gently and slowly pull this off. And I do it slowly because if any of the image has not transferred, I can quickly place it back and continue with that burnishing. But I think I've done it. So nothing on my liner sheet, but I've got this really sweet little bird in the wreath on my paper. Really quick and easy to do. Now I did mention as well that you can add this onto rice paper too. Now the trick with this, of course, is that you want to make sure your rice paper is totally dry before you do this. Otherwise you come at risk of tearing into that kind of delicate rice paper if it's still wet. So I've let this dry, and again I'm just going to pop this down here and come in with my bone folder. Same process as before, nothing changes, and then just burnish this image on here. So you can have a lot of fun figuring out where you want your images to go, what kind of surfaces or pattern backgrounds you want to use. Okay, so again, just gently, slowly pulling this up, and there we go. So whether you're applying your rub-on onto paper or onto rice paper, you've got lots and lots of options here. And of course, everything coordinating together so beautifully just makes it even easier. Okay, so back to the card. You can see here I've transferred this sweet little squirrel. I couldn't resist. I thought he was adorable. And I've put him onto one of the cutouts from the 8x8 paper pack. On the right-hand side of my card here, I've got some more rub-on images. So I have a candy cane border, and that's applied just directly onto that green pattern background. I've also got some ivy, or not some ivy, but some holly foliage going off either side here too. And that's just to add some more depth and dimension. Then we've got a Christmas script dazzle sentiment in that beautiful gold, so that accents things really nicely. And I've got some chipboard mittens on here, which I popped up with foam tape and then added some jute twine behind here as an accent. Then for my card inside, I have some of the sheet music rice paper, which I adhered onto white cardstock, and then I trimmed it down with scissors, inked it with some of that butterscotch ink, and then glued it to the inside of the card. And then I've got a cute little snowman die cut here and the Let It Snow rub-on. So this has been applied, as we saw, right onto that rice paper, and it just adds another nice little touch of dimension. Okay, I have one more project to show you, and this one is using the tag in a bag cutting die, which is just perfect for the Christmas holidays. The tag in a bag cutting die has always been really popular, and it has long been one of my favorites. I just think it's perfect for gift giving or when you want to create something that's just a little bit different. So here's the die that I used for this project. As you can see, you've got two dies included here. One that will die cut to the shape of the tag, and the other one which will give you the bag, so that when you die cut those elements, you can create something that will look like this. So with the tag here, what I've done is layered two different papers together. So let me show you those. I'm going to move aside my bag for now. And you can see that I'm working with the 8x8 pattern paper in this really nice wood design. And then on top of that, I've layered some of the sheet music rice paper. And of course, you can play with the positioning of this if you want to get all of that floral imagery on there, or have most of it be that gorgeous sheet music. So what you'll do here is adhere the rice paper onto your pattern paper, as we just saw. Do make sure that that is completely dry, and then just grab your die and run it through your die cutting machine as you normally would. So again, you can play with the positioning of this and figure out what portion of that beautiful design you want to capture with the die. So you can do rice paper die cutting, just do make sure that you have it glued onto something like a cardstock that's just going to give a little bit more stability to it. Now on my tag, I have one of the cutout images from the paper pack. So let me pull out that sheet and you can see what this looks like. Now you can cut out these circles with scissors if you want to, but if you don't like fussy cutting, there's also the 12 circle and scalloped cutting dies. And as you can see, this is one that I use a lot. I never put it away. It's always on my work surface. And that's because very often I will find a circle in here that perfectly matches anything that I might otherwise have to cut out with scissors, because I kind of like to avoid that. So I've got these circles on here, and that's what I've used to die cut the circle shape. Now, because there are also scallop circles in there, then you can also use those to create a coordinating scalloped mat, and that's what I've done as well. So just to make things a little bit easier, that can definitely help with those circle and scallop cutting dies. Now here what I've done is added a little dazzle sentiment at the bottom, and then I've got some jute twine up here at the top. So for die cutting the bag, this is also super simple to do. Now with your tag in a bag cutting die, you'll have a piece that looks like this, and this is going to do the bag. So once I have that die cut, and in this case I've just die cut it from some of the cardstock, you'll have an image like this, and then you can decide, which side of your paper you want to use, and then simply fold this up on the score lines. Now again, you may want to use that bone folder just to get some additional creasing on here, but you'll fold in the sides, fold up the bottom, and I like to use an extra sticky double-sided tape to secure this, and then you've got your bag, which will perfectly fit your tag. So from there, you can decide how you want to decorate this. And here I've just added one of the cutouts from the 8x8 pack. I've got a coordinating dazzle sentiment on here, of course, and this sweet little deer and a heart-shaped chipboard piece. And then I've got my tag in a bag all ready to go, and this will just slip right inside. This is also perfect too if you are including a gift card or a money gift as well. So again, something just a little bit different. So that is our final project for today. And a big thank you to our friends at Stamperia for this fabulous collection. And a big thank you to you for joining me today. We're so glad that you're here, and we're really happy that you're part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. Be sure to see the money saver on the right side of your screen at paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, just have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.